What's the one tradition you'd bring back from your childhood if only your family would let you? For me, it was something we called lantern evenings. And it wasn't tied to any particular holiday or calendar date. It happened whenever the first rain of spring fell. The sky would be gray, the air damp with petrichor. And the moment those first drops hit the ground, my dad would declare it officially a lantern evening. My siblings and I would race to the attic to pull out this dusty old box filled with paper lanterns, mismatched candles, glass jars, and bits of string. And within hours, the entire house would glow in warm, flickering light. No electricity allowed, no phones, no screens, just lanterns and voices, and the kind of quiet that makes you feel like the world outside has stopped. We'd spend the night telling stories, not just fairy tales, but family legends, secrets, dreams we had, even lies that sounded like truth because the candlelight made everything feel possible. My mom would cook soup on the gas stove, usually tomato or lentil, and we'd sit cross-legged in the living room, using mugs instead of bowls, because it was part of the tradition to slurp loudly and say something kind after each sip. My little sister, Lila, would always start the storytelling with her made-up tales about creatures in the woods behind our house, foxes that read poetry, owls that played cards. Then my older brother, Jack, would twist those stories into horror versions, and we'd all scream and laugh until our sides hurt. But the best part was always the final hour, when Dad would pull out this battered notebook filled with old poems he'd written in college, and he'd read them to us like they were sacred texts. He never let us peek inside the book any other day. Some poems were about love, others about being a kid in a too small town, and a few were so sad they made Mom quietly wipe her eyes while pretending to be fussing with the lantern wicks. It was beautiful and strange and completely ours. But then, when I was 13, Jack got into a car accident on a rainy spring evening. He didn't make it. It was the first rain of the season. We were actually hanging lanterns when the call came in. That was the last lantern evening we ever had. The box was packed away the very next day, shoved into the garage instead of the attic, and nobody ever mentioned it again. Lila stopped telling stories. My mom couldn't even look at candlelight for years. She said the shadows reminded her too much of that night. I understood, kind of. But something in me always felt like we let go of something sacred, like letting go of Jack entirely. Every spring since then, the first raindrop hits and my stomach turns. I want to hang lanterns, light a candle, even just read one of Dad's poems, but it's like touching something cursed. The air gets heavy. Everyone gets quiet. The rain becomes this silent ghost haunting the house. When I went off to college, I secretly restarted lantern evening in my dorm. I bought a few LED lanterns, made lentil soup on a hot plate, and invited a few friends over. I even wrote a poem of my own and read it aloud, my voice shaking. I didn't tell my family, didn't post about it. It was just for me and maybe for Jack, wherever he was. Then, last year, I came home for spring break. I wasn't planning on doing anything, but the forecast called for rain, and that old ache returned. The sky darkened, thunder low and slow in the distance, and I found myself in the garage, standing in front of that dusty box. I didn't even open it, just stood there until I heard footsteps behind me. It was Dad. He didn't say anything, just looked at the box, then at me. After a long pause, he said, "I still remember the poem I wrote the last time we did this." Then he turned and walked away. I didn't sleep that night. The rain came, soft at first, then steady. I waited until everyone was asleep, then snuck into the garage, opened the box, and pulled out one of the jars. I lit a small candle inside and placed it on the kitchen table. I sat there for over an hour, just watching it flicker. And then, like a ghost, Mom appeared. She stared at the candle, her face unreadable, then quietly sat across from me. We didn't speak. She didn't cry. But after a while, she whispered, "Do you remember the story Lila told about the fox who couldn't cry?" I nodded. "He built a fire instead." She closed her eyes. "Maybe we were all foxes." I don't know what that meant exactly, but it made my throat tighten. She reached out and placed a hand over mine. We didn't bring the tradition back that night, not fully, but something stirred, a flicker. The next morning, the candle was still there, burned down to a stub. No one said a word about it. But this year, the forecast says spring rain is coming again next week. And I'm already thinking about the soup I'll make, the stories I'll tell, and maybe, if I'm brave enough, reading one of Dad's old poems aloud. Even if they won't join me, Lantern Evening still lives inside me, glowing in the dark, waiting.